Hey guys, what is up? Mike here. Thanks for tuning in to another video. So in this video, I want to give you some tips, some pointers, some strategies on how to present your work to an interviewer. Think of this as interview prep 101, how to present your projects. Now keep this in mind. There is no one right way on how to present your work, right? You can go about it however you want, but I'm going to cover about 5 things I think you want to take notes on and make sure that you get these things across in your interview. I'm going to also give you an example of one of my projects and how I would probably speak on it during an interview. All right. The goal is for you to just kind of get some nuggets from this video, go back to your drawing board and start preparing for when you're called for an interview and now you're ready to present your work and get these things out. So in general, you always want to make sure you have about 2 to 3 projects readily available that you can speak on intelligently and be able to walk a user or an interviewer through your projects, identifying the problem, the solution, your process, etc. All right, let's go over these things. So there's about 5 things. Number 1, the first thing, the way I would present, this is how I would present, and these are the main things I want to touch on. The first thing is I need to have an elevator pitch. All right, for every project, have a very concise, packaged summary of the project. Just basically, you're just summarizing what you did, and that could be 1 or 2 sentences. It's just, here we built an app for kids, that from ages 5 to 6 allowed them to do X, Y, and Z, right? It's just a very concise, and I'll explain to you one of my projects and how I would explain it. But basically, it's an elevator pitch. It can't be long-winded. It should just be very concise. Now, it's very hard if you don't have one ready, written down for your project. It's very hard to come up with it off the top of your head. That makes it feel very concise. So definitely write it down and practice it. All right, and it should be very short and concise. Just keep that in mind. Number 2 is after I summarize my project quickly or easily, I then roll into kind of like storytelling. I casually tell a story about the problem and how we've come up with the problem and how we kind of started down this path of building this project. All right, so number 2 is you can consider it storytelling. Tell a story of the problem. Number 3, you touch on your process, on how you went about continuing to build out these designs to get to the very end. All right, number 4, at the end, you could talk about how you measured your success, which is always good. And 5, this is a bonus. Make sure as you're explaining and you're talking through your projects that you're touching on speaking with users, because it is user-centered design, right? We don't just want to build these screens based on our own assumptions. If at all, if you can somehow interject you speaking with customers, understanding their pain points, just kind of surveying them, getting a feel for what it is they're actually looking for while you're building these solutions, that's always helpful. In some cases, you may not have access to customers, so you can touch on, hey, I went to the mall and things like that. So I'll talk about that a little later, but make sure you inject you being able to speak with customers. So let me explain to you how I would go about presenting my work. Here's a tip too. Make sure you don't have to be so perfect. I might fumble over my words as I'm recording this video. Basically, in all my videos, I don't even like stop and cut whatever. I just kind of just talk through them. The best way for you to always remember is don't rush. You don't have to be picture perfect. You don't have to be this robotic thing. You can just kind of casually talk through your project. So number 1, let me just talk about my project, give you an example of these 5 points. So let's bring up my work that I did at ADP, right? So the first thing I would do if I'm on a phone in an interview, or if I'm in an interview on a panel, I would just bring up the first screen. That's what I would do. I wouldn't bring up, a bunch of different words, case study. I would just bring up the screen and I would explain it. I would explain my elevator pitch. I'll say, so here is a time card or a time management dashboard that I worked on at ADP. With this dashboard, what we did was we brought in several different tools that managers use on a daily, weekly basis combined and compiled them all into one place, allowing managers the ability to accomplish key tasks, simplifying their overall workflow. Period. Boom. That's my elevator pitch. That's it. To be honest with you, right before this video, I kind of thought about it, but I would try to simplify that, and that's it. Here, I worked on a time management dashboard where we combined several of the tools that managers work on throughout the week, combining them into one place, allowing managers the ability to complete key tasks, simplifying their workflow. That's it. That's number one. Then I'd roll into storytelling. I would say, so at ADP, we started to get feedback from customers asking for something like this. And as designers, we were aware of this because we were actually working with old legacy applications that were built like 10 years ago. We understood the problem right off the bat, and we thought this was a good idea, but we wanted to verify if, with additional customers before we actually went down this path. And so we interviewed several different customers, getting a feel for what they do day to day throughout the week and how they use the current existing apps at ADP. We wanted to understand the things they liked, the things they didn't like, their pain points, etc. All right. So after interviewing several of these customers, we compiled a list of the top key tasks that managers use on a daily basis. That included reviewing time cards, fixing time card exceptions, approving and denying PTO requests, and modifying and reviewing employee schedules. Also managing their own personal time. With those key things, we were able to then go to the drawing board and do some ideation, some brainstorming, and come up with these designs. And throughout our process, so that's me just casually, let's just jump out of the performance. Okay, so that was me just kind of casually explaining the problem. Or this is what I would do. In that storytelling, I would say as we interviewed these customers, we basically, and this is the truth, they had to, what we noticed is that they would utilize like several different pages, several different tools. They would go to time card, they would go to time card exceptions, they would go to scheduling, they had to go to another page for PTO requests, and another page to modify their own time. So they would have like several different screens open. So obviously we needed to consolidate this workflow, and that's what I would do. What I would storytell, try to explain the storytell. I would try to explain the problem in there. All right. So if you do that, you're a go. Then you jump into your process. So I did number one and number two. Then I'll go into number three. I said, with this information, from the feedback we gathered from the customers, we went to the drawing board, we started brainstorming, and we started to research and analyze several different dashboards on the market from competitors and other tools that we thought would work well. From all that, we started to sketch and create prototypes. Along the way, we communicated with a few different customers, and we would share them prototypes and gather feedback as we continued to build this out. We got to a point to where we started to put this together into a more functional model on a development server. Again, working with customers, getting their feedback, having them work with these tools. Once we got to a point to where we thought it was good enough and it was like a best guess. Remember the term best guess. Best guess. We rolled this out to a small subset of clients, and then from there slowly rolled it out as we went. And along the way, we keep the feedback loop open. We have a feedback component on the app, allowing customers to give feedback to us so that we're aware of what things or issues they're running into. We work with product managers who own these clients, who work with these clients one-on-one to make sure that we're gathering feedback on things they like, things that we missed on, etc. And then from there, it's just a constant iteration process from that. So keeping our ears open, understanding, what issues they're running into, and then modifying or iterating on that. So right there, I just covered my process, and I covered how I might be aware, or actually how we know we're hitting the mark on our projects. That's it. What I just explained, and as you can see, I kind of stumbled over some words. It's okay. If you actually did your storytelling part, and as you saw my storytelling, I didn't really explain the problem clearly, and the fact that the problem was users had different screens open and we needed to consolidate that, you go back in and you explain it. All right, there's no right and wrong. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's a perfect robotic speaker out here. So as long as you get these things in and you speak casually and you're calm about it and you're very confident in that you actually did your due diligence or whatever in order to speak with customers or really identify the problem, and you put forth, quote unquote, your best guess, that's all anybody can ask for. All right, if you do that, you remain open and basically allude to the fact that we don't know if this is working or not. We're still working with customers to gather feedback and iterating on that. That's what UX design is about. Take these notes, jot down these things, prepare, prepare, prepare. 5 things in summary. Number 1, elevator pitch. Number 2, tell a story. Interject, talk about the problem, casually talk about the problem, give the interviewer some context. Number 3, talk to them about your process. Analyzing competitors, researching customers, etc. Sketching, prototyping. Number 3, how do you measure success? And 4, make sure you talk about you working with customers, or at least understanding the customer needs and getting some customer feedback. Again, if you are working on a project and you don't have access to customers, talk about, hey, you know what? I was at a party and I gathered some surveys from folks that I know. I went to the mall and I talked to people there. I went to the local, grocery store and, and asked 5 people what they thought of this. Do that, right? So getting customer feedback is important. User-centered design. All right. Anyway, guys, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you got a nugget or 2 from this. As always, if you want to learn more about my process and how I teach and learn some of these things, if you're just getting started in UX design, visit my site, ML UX Academy. I have a course there for you. If you are an existing UX designer and you want some nuggets and additional continuing education, go to my site and sign up for my membership. It's free for 14 days. Tons and tons of value there, and I'm pretty sure you will love it. I know you will love it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Share the video, like the video, comment, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.